I've got here with me Apologia's complete offerings for exploring creation with astronomy elementary science curriculum. Let's take a detailed look on all the goodies that go with this. Hi guys, Kathleen S here. I'm a homeschool graduate, homeschool mom, learning enthusiast, and I have a son who is an astronomy enthusiast. So we picked up this curriculum last spring. I finally relented to give it to my son over the summer, and he loved it so much. We did not use this curriculum exactly how the publisher had it laid out, so stick around to the end to hear the details and how we did all that. But I've got so many pieces to share with you guys today. We've got the actual textbook, we have the notebooking journal, we have the activity guide, which I didn't even know existed until a week ago, and the audiobook, as well as online resources that come when you purchase this curriculum. Before we get into looking at all the books I have for you, let's talk about the methodology and philosophy of Apologia, because that always helps you understand the curriculum a whole lot better. So Apologia is a Christian company, and specifically they are young earth creationists. If you don't know what that means, go check out creation.com or Answers in Genesis. They have a ton of information out there for you. But that will help you understand a lot of the things you'll see in their textbooks. I did say textbook. This is a textbook, but it's not a traditional textbook. They have all their curriculum written in narrative style. So for those of you that are Charlotte Mason lovers out there, it's a bit of a take on that philosophy. This is written to the kids, talking directly to them about interesting things, and it's a really engaging text. But unlike traditional textbooks, there are no tests or quizzes with this curriculum. You can make your own, of course, and I have more ideas on that later if you need something because of state requirements. But yeah, this is not traditional in that sense at all. Another thing with their philosophy is they love the hands-on activities, which is really phenomenal because that reinforces the teachings that they get from just reading the textbook. And then finally, probably one of the biggest things that they do differently from traditional is topic. One topic for the entire book. The entire year, the entire textbook is just taken up with astronomy, and you'll find that with just about everything that they publish. So it's more of a unit study type feel, if I can say it that way. It's in depth, much more so than you'll ever get in a traditional textbook for elementary, which is something I loved about it, and you'll see more about that later. Okay, no further talking, let's jump into actually looking at the textbook. Okay, so here's the textbook, so let's take a look inside. The first pages, you'll see the list of everything that is offered by Apologia for this curriculum. Now the science kit here, they do not offer anymore on their website. That is where the activity guide comes in. This was created for the science kit, and since they no longer offer it, they have this available separately. But you can go to various websites online and buy the science kit, which is all the supplies you need, so you don't have to gather them yourselves. I also don't believe that they do the field trip journal anymore, but I could be wrong about that. This edition was from 2016, so it is several years old and they've not updated it. But I have not seen the field trip journal out there. So the table of contents, you'll see this is a standard elementary astronomy textbook. They do an introduction to astronomy, the sun, then you get to all the planets, and then they do go a bit further and get into the Kuiper Belt and dwarf planets, and then stars, galaxies, and space travel. So it is a little bit beyond what you typically get into in elementary, which is just the planets. But that is one of the reasons I love this book. And then the next page, they have a great summary of the textbooks, and I'm covering up here the password to the course website. Stay tuned later for the video so you can see what's offered on the website. They're really, really great options out there. And then these things right here, these are extra activities, which again, you could find in this activity guide. There's only about 1 to 3 per chapter, but they are more engineering and scientific rather than just an arts and craft type thing, and they're geared for the older elementary. So we're talking probably 4th, 5th, 6th grade. So just stick around in a bit to see all the great details on that. Okay, everyone shows the first chapter all the time, so I'm going to skip to Venus. So the chapters are broken up into very convenient sections. They always start out with a wisdom from above, bringing scripture into what you're learning. And then they have, again, a narrative type reading. So it's not dry, it's engaging, it's asking questions as you read or as your kids read this. They have some great images from NASA, and then there's several think about this sections, which make the kids stop and consider something. And actually, there is space in the notebooking journal to actually write down thoughts about that. And then they have some great activities. So in this activity, you're melting butter, and then that butter solidifies, showing what lava does. And it's not your just typical baking soda and vinegar. So it is a little bit more practical. They have these great questions at the end of sections, so where it's stop and think about it. This would be a great time. I don't know if you can, there you go. This would be a great time for you to do an oral review, which is very Charlotte Mason in philosophy. But this is your way of checking to make sure your kids understand the concepts that are being taught. You don't just read it and go on. You read it, discuss it, make sure they're getting everything. They always discuss the atmospheres, the revolution and rotation. Here's another think about it section. Always some great factoids, like who named Venus, what has been to Venus, what kind of spacecrafts or probes we've sent to the planet. Here's another great activity that shows how in-depth Apologia has thought about how to incorporate different aspects of science, because astronomy is not easy to do labs with kids. But the fact that they bring in radar and have you do an activity to demonstrate how radar works, because we can't penetrate Venus's atmosphere with anything but radar. It just reflects such great thinking on Apologia's part, and in precision in choosing the activities they do, which I appreciate greatly, that they're not just crafts and busy work. And then at the end of each chapter is a what do you remember? And it's again more Charlotte Mason in that this takes the place of a quiz or a test. It's a verbal review of what they've learned. If it's obvious they've not caught something, you can go back and review it. Now I want to show you one of the more advanced chapters, so let's get to the Kuiper Belt and dwarf planets. So same format, they have the Wisdom from Above section, and then they start in all sorts of great facts about the dwarf planets, what makes a dwarf planet. Yes, this is a little bit more crafty, but it's still a practical of what does a dwarf planet look like. It's something that the kids can put their hands on and not just look at pictures. So that would be a good implementation of a craft, and it's not just glitter and glue and cut and paste type things. Again, they go into some of the missions that's been out there. They have extra activities, as I mentioned, go in the extra activity book. Pluto's moons, and yeah, it's just great, more advanced concepts. So, and then even going into similarities between the Earth, which is a planet, and then dwarf planets, probably to help you think through why Pluto is no longer a planet. Now, in the back of this book is the appendix. Let me get there. And in the appendix, you have the handy dandy supplies list, so you can see what you need per chapter. Most of it is something that you would probably have on hand. If not, it's going to be something cheap, like Alka-Seltzer tablets. I did not have on hand, but it's not too expensive to get a box from the store. And then the what do you remember questions at the end of each chapter. Here's the answer key. Now, I told you I had tips, big tips on how to turn this curriculum into something that has tests and quizzes. At the end of each chapter, you have these. You can make this into a quiz. You can type all this out or write all this out, or just have your kids sit there and look at the what do you remember questions at the end of the chapter, and then they write out their answers. And then you can keep that as your records for any states that requires you to have tests and quizzes as part of the curriculum. So there is an option here. It's not a ton. So you could also use like these questions here as quizzes, quiz questions. But I just wanted to mention that as an option if that is something you need. Now, there's one more thing I couldn't pass up mentioning because it came up when we were studying this textbook, when my son was asking about it. In here, there's a reference to the exploded planet hypothesis. And there's 3 pages taken up discussing this. So my husband, who's involved with creation research and is a member of creation research societies, got onto the chat board with all of the scientists who make the theories in creation science and asked them, exploded planet theory, is it a viable hypothesis of what happened with the asteroid belt? And a leading Christian astronomer, Danny Faulkner, who works at Answers in Genesis now, he retired from teaching astronomy at a state school. So Dr. Danny Faulkner responded and said, yeah, there are many, many, many problems with this theory, and it was postulated a while ago, but it doesn't have, it's not a good theory for this long list of reasons. So yeah, I had to mention that. And it's a problem with any textbook out there. Theories that have been postulated by scientists but then disproved still make it into both Christian and secular textbooks. There's a lot of misinformation out there. So when you see the word theory, make sure you still take it with a grain of salt. And since we did look into this and got it directly from the people who create these theories, I had to mention it. So we still love the textbook. We still use it. Just a reminder, when it comes to science, it's still developing. It's not like history that it's said and done. It's still developing. So just bear that in mind. Okay, so that's the textbook. Next, we've got the notebooking journal. Now, I have the junior notebooking journal. The only difference between the regular notebooking journal and the junior notebooking journal is the ruled pages for writing are going to be bigger in this book. And also there's extra copy work, which you'll see in a bit. And the older version of the notebook also has the what do you remember questions, which were part of the textbook here. But they're in the textbook, so it's not a big deal if they're not going to be in the junior book. Okay, so here's the notebooking journal, and as I mentioned, the junior notebooking journal. So in the beginning, we have reminders that there's additional activities in this great activity guide, which I'll get to next. And then probably one of the best things about this notebook is the suggested daily schedule for those of you that need it planned out for you. So they have the daily assignments, suggestions. They don't schedule it out by week because they are leaving this up to you on how you do it. Now, you could do 2 lessons per week, and that will give you 36 weeks of curriculum. Or you could do 4 days a week for 18 weeks, and that's 1 semester. Totally up to you. But the daily assignments include the reading from the textbook. And then if there's a science kit activity, which would be from this, they put that in there. And then in the blue, they have stuff you would do here in the notebook. And they've broken up fairly reasonably, so I don't see any day that's extra heavy. And then here at the end is the final assignment, which if you need documentation and tests for your state, stick around so you can see what that is. Okay, the parent guide telling you all the elements that's in this notebook. But we're going to skip to Venus since that's the chapter we looked at in the textbook. So here's what I mentioned, the wider ruled for the junior notebooking. And this is essentially a place for them to take notes on their study, do some drawings, paste in some photos that they print off from online. Here is the activity and what it looks like. I really love how they set this up. It's set up to teach them how to document science experiments. So they write what they did and then what they learned. They also have in this notebook copy work, which is very Charlotte Mason. They have a printing side and a cursive side. So you can choose what you want. And they only use Bible verses for copy work. They also have a lot of mini books here, which is a fancy way of saying a cut and paste activity. Instead of just writing out fill in the blanks on a page, they have the kids cut, and here it's going to be a slit right here. And then each of these are volcano ash clouds that you then write your Venus fact on. So you also paste it to this stick, and the end result right here you can see here is all these clouds coming out of the vent. So to me, this is busy work, but some kids may really, really enjoy this. They definitely have one mini book per chapter for the kids to explore with. And then here's another activity. What I did, what I learned. Here's the radar chart to help them investigate that activity. And then in every chapter, there's a crossword. The older elementary textbook is going to be a more complicated crossword with more vocab, but this would be a great review. And again, if you live in a state that you need paperwork, this could also help support that. And then the take it further is filling the page with colorful drawings, list of books you read about Venus, movies you watched, any additional experiments you performed. This is the page for that. Now, the problem I have with that is they don't give you any more ideas of books you can read about Venus or movies you can watch about Venus or any extra experiments. So they give you the space for it, but they don't give you any helps beyond that. So I don't know how many moms would actually do this, because the whole point to get a curriculum like this is you don't have to do a whole lot of extra footwork and research. But if you guys have used it, let me know if you've used it and how you've used it down below, because I'm curious. I did not use this notebook journal with my son, but if you have, let me know if you've used this page at all. And then here, another take it further, make a scrapbook page of your journey learning about Venus. And then they always have a coloring page in here as well. So that's what the notebooking journal looks like. In the back, I mentioned they have this final review. So this is another what do you remember type section, except this is a paper version. So this you can consider a final year-end test if you need something like this for your state, or if you just want to use this as a let's go back and review everything. You can go fill in the blank and take your textbook and hunt for all these answers. So it could be open book, it could be closed book, but this is here for you to use. Here you have the solutions for all the crossword puzzles, and then you have the solutions for that one final review as well. I did mention I did not use certain parts of this. I actually did not use this at all with my son. I bought this a week ago to show you guys from my local consignment store. I was very excited about it, but when I got home and looked at it further, I don't think I'll be keeping this. Now, stick around to hear how we've used this curriculum for my son. I thought I would get this and keep it for him in a few years when we come back to astronomy, because we will be coming back to this. But there's not enough in here for me to use. So that's just my 2 cents. Next, we've got chocolate and the like. The point in the video where I eat some amazing chocolate and ask you to bump that like button and help this video spread further. If you bump that like button, I really appreciate it. Thank you a whole lot for doing that. Okay, I told you I had no idea that the activity guide existed until a week ago. I was looking at the curriculum online, trying to see the offerings out there in preparation for this review, and I found out about this. Since my son loves astronomy so much, I decided to see if my local curriculum consignment store had it. They did. So I got it because I wanted to look at it, and I'm actually really excited about this. This is an extension of the textbook that I didn't know was out there, and it's really good for the older kids who might be using the textbook. So let's take a look inside. Okay, finally we're getting inside this activity guide, which I keep talking about. So they have the table of contents, and here the activity list. Now I do need to stop here and show you. I told you they only have 1 to 3 extra activities per chapter. But I think this would be a purchase that could be worth it for your upper elementary kids, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. So you can see they have a summary of all the activities for the textbook, and all those activities are in here. And then the extra activities, just 1 to 3 per chapter. So what exactly are the extra activities? This is the first one. Why do stars twinkle? You'll note that it's not just an activity like you would find in the textbook where it's simple, do this, do this, do this. No, it's like they give you extra textbook here. So they get into fusion, they get into what it's looked like when we take photographs from Hubble versus on Earth. They have you actually do an experiment here, what you observed with a smooth foil, what you observed with a wrinkle foil. And yes, I did get this used. But they give a whole bunch of information. Stellar scintillation. So this is for the upper elementary kids. They talk about a control in the experiment, a variable in the experiment. I love it, even making the sundial as the second activity. It is great extra information. You make your own astrolab. You talk about how to use an astrolab, and then you go out there and actually use it. They teach you how to measure time using something you've created, but using a method that's been used by navigators for hundreds of years. In the textbook, the make your own mnemonic activity looks like this. So it's short, just tiny blurb on this page. So it is nice that they give them extra support here. They give discussions on what a mnemonic is and give examples from different areas. So please excuse my dear Aunt Sally for math, PEMDAS, Roy G. Biv, music, Every Good Boy Does Fine for the musical notes and the treble clef. So yeah, it's great extra help. Sometimes not. Just to show you what I mean by the engineering STEM portion of this, let's go to the Mars section. So this activity here is from the textbook, and this activity here is from the textbook. But then this is one of the extra ones. So this is the human contribution to space exploration. And it is all about basically the Mars rovers that they built. They go into really fun, in-depth details on what it took to build the Mars rovers, and have you start building one. And then here, again, you design and build your own robot. Conceptual design, then you optimize the design. Is this even possible? Do the details, build a prototype, test, evaluate. So it is really well thought out, and again, definitely for the upper grades. Just a warning, it is a bit pricey. It is almost as much as the textbook in cost when I checked, and that's just a little bit more than the notebook and journal, so just be aware of that. As I've been saying, personally, if I were building the curriculum for especially grades 5 and 6, I would buy this instead of the notebooking journal. If you're Charlotte Mason, you may want the notebooking journal because of all the copy work, but you can kind of do your own. But this would be probably the better use of your money for the upper grades because of just how much information is in there. So between the textbook, this, and the online resources, you could have a really, really, really robust, even middle school curriculum for astronomy. Okay, let's get on to the website resources. So when you go to Apologia's website, you'll want to go to the Book Extras option. And there they have a space to enter the password found in the front of your textbook that you have. Once you enter this code and it's connected to your account, you don't have to enter it again. They'll keep it down here in your subscriptions. So we're looking at astronomy, and let's go to Venus, since that's what we've been exploring. You'll have to keep in mind that this book was published in 2016, so a lot of these resources have not been updated since then. So there is a page not found because NASA no longer supports that. There's a couple other links that are just broken. Just be aware of that. It's what happens when it's been a while since they put a new update on the textbook. So they have a lot of great links to NASA in particular. And that is awesome because that gives you essentially real-time knowledge of what's going on with Venus. They tell you how many missions that are going on to Venus right now. They give you some great animations to explore and engage with. They give you a lot of great photography and just very good information in general. There's some links to some fun activities for kids. These would be more like the arts and crafts activities. And yeah, there's just a ton of stuff you can get from NASA. The Jet Propulsion Laboratory is another place that Apologia has linked, and that includes a ton of great images we've received from probes to NASA. There's also links to websites like this that give other good textbook type write-ups on Venus and the history of Venus and some basic facts of Venus. There is this awesome website here, which you only get 5 minutes a day for free, but it is looking at the topography of Venus. So it is a 3D image that you can zoom in on Venus and explore based on what we've discovered with radar. There's things like this, astronomy photos and phases of Venus. Again, this is another example of old website not updating stuff. Transits across the sun, seeing what the resources NASA has on that. And then I'll mention a little bit more about this later, but Apologia does not have anything teaching you how to stargaze and find Venus in the sky. So this website here would be a great resource for you to see what you can see in the sky right now. And that is also linked to on the Apologia's website. Okay, so how did we use this curriculum for my son? Well, I got this when he was 3 and relented and gave it to him when he was just a month shy of 4. And this video here explains it all.
Which is then surrounded by hydrogen, helium, and methane gases that make up its atmosphere.
What are you up to?
The winds on Neptune are even stronger than Saturn's winds. It would be a terribly blustery...
To my to the last friend in the solar system.
Cool. Yes, MP3, loved it. I love how they have it set up for this astronomy textbook. And I actually got this textbook out to do this review months later for you guys, and my son saw it and is really, really excited to start listening to it again. We used the textbook, we used the MP3 audiobook. We did not use any of this other stuff here or the online resources. He was 3 when he was going through it. We did some of the activities in here, but since he was reading through everything so fast, and at that time I had a 1.5-year-old underfoot who was just getting into everything, we did not have an opportunity to do a whole lot of the activities in here, but he did love the ones we did. So big thumbs up from my son and from me on this curriculum. Apologia gave me a lot of mama free time. Just realized I had my water bottle in frame. Girls gotta stay hydrated when recording. This is the section that is called the fast facts, the questions you have that I'm gonna give you short, sweet answers to. Before I get there, let me summarize all of this by saying there is a reason that this is one of the most popular science curriculums in the homeschool community for Christians. It is so super flexible. You'll see that in a lot of these questions. You can truly make it your own and make it fit your family. First up is cost. How much does it cost? I just looked up these prices online. So the textbook right now is about $47 if you buy it from the company. The notebooking journal is about $30. The MP3 download is about $15. The activity guide, which I keep raving about, is about $40. So it is fairly cheap as far as curriculums go if you just get the textbook. Do you need it all? No, you don't. I mentioned flexibility. You can truly just do this curriculum with the textbook and the online resources they have links to that are free. You can. But if you want to add in extra stuff, you can do the notebooking journal, you can do the extra activities, you can do the audiobooks. It's all up to you. Is there any hidden costs that I've not mentioned? Yes, the supplies. A lot of them are household supplies that you could have on hand. There's a few things you need to go to the store, like Alka-Seltzer. I did not have in my house. So I bought a box of that so we could do that activity. But you could truly do it for most of the supplies you have on hand. There is an option out there, and I know a couple websites probably do this, but I'm going to link to Rainbow Resources. All of the supplies you need in one giant box, one giant lab kit. And yes, it is a hefty price tag, but let's be honest, guys, sometimes we just need to simplify our lives and have all of the supplies down to the thread that's 1 foot long in a box. So it's there. I'll accept something like water from your kitchen. It's there. But there is a price tag attached to it. Okay, second question. Who does this curriculum work best for? Well, first off, a Christian family. There really is no way to make this secular because of how interwoven scripture is with everything. And if you're not a young earth family, you may have issues with some of the things said in this textbook. So that's who this curriculum is for. Christians that are young earth in their science. This is also a major win for those families that need group subjects. Again, flexibility. You could give this to one child for their own science and have each child do a separate science. Or you could have all of your elementary, and actually I'm going to broaden it, K through 6th grade, do astronomy together, because really this textbook is written probably more towards the K through 3rd grade group. But older kids can join in and have fun, especially if you get the activity guide. Can you tell how much I'm in love with it? So yeah, it is a group subject that you can do, or you can do it separately. Each kid gets their own, your choice. This curriculum is great for a family that needs open and go. Absolutely no prep work for you, mom. No pre-reading you need to do as a teacher. The textbook's written to the student. There is no separate teacher's book here you have to prep and plan from. It is open and go, except for the supplies, but if you get the lab kit, then that is even open and go. Okay, third question, how much time is involved to do this curriculum? So I did some calculations. If you use the guide from the notebooking journal on how to spread out the activities and textbook and stuff, and you use the audiobook, it takes about 5 to 10 minutes to play the audiobook for the assignments as laid out in the notebook. And then from there, they have anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes of either science craft type activities or notebooking activities for the day. So in total, I would say anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour to do this curriculum each day. And again, this is a suggested schedule of 2 days a week for 36 weeks, or you could do it 4 days a week for a semester. If you have science enthusiast kids like mine, they could listen to it every week for several weeks on loop. So yeah, entirely up to you on how fast you pace this. Again, flexible. Fourth question, what type of learners is this curriculum designed for? It is designed for the auditory, it is designed for the kinesthetic, it is designed for the visual. The charts, the pictures, everything in the textbook are phenomenal for the visual learners. The MP3 book, yes, is great for the auditory learners, or you as the mom could read it out loud to them. And it is really good for the kinesthetic learners because of the great activities in here. Yeah. Every kid is going to like it. This is why it is so popular for homeschool families. Fifth question, I mentioned this answer already, but ease of use. How easy is this curriculum to use, to implement? Very easy. It is open and go. If you want the schedule, they have a schedule. You can set your own pace easily by just reading to the next orange questions in here and just call that for the day. You can pretty much set it up however you want. It is just so easy. Everything's already there for you that you can just go find. Your kids can do this on their own. It is possible for this to be a completely independent curriculum. So yeah, it is whatever you want to make it. Okay, so yes, I've given this curriculum glowing reviews. Are there any cons? Yeah, there are. They're not big enough for me not to want to use the curriculum, but yes, there are cons. One is they've not mentioned anything about stargazing or implemented anything about stargazing. That is like the easiest astronomy activity out there. To get your kids out, especially in the winter when it is darker earlier, and just look at the stars. Introduce them to constellations. Help them figure out how to find constellations. Actually, just today, I took my son on a mommy date to the local planetarium to see what was in the sky tonight. And they laid out very well in that planetarium, showing how to find the brightest and most clear constellations in the stars, to use those to find the other constellations and other objects. None of that is in this textbook, so that is a con. One of the easiest and least cost activities out there is nowhere in here. Okay, another con, which I've mentioned already, is that it is a science textbook in which the information is just old. Science is cutting edge when it comes to astronomy. So if you really want to know what's going on with astronomy, the new research that's going on, you just have to stay up with NASA. There's actually some really good YouTube resources that I found for my son. And if you want to know more about those, stick around the channel. I have a video in the works, probably in the next few months, sharing all my favorite astronomy resources with you guys. But yeah, this textbook was written in 2016, so it's older. Plus, some of the things are just theories that should not be held with elevation there. I mentioned that before, but one of the causes of that is Janine Fulbright, who is an excellent author, excellent researcher. She's not a scientist. She is the author of all of these books, and she has a fine arts background. So it's nothing against the quality of the books. I use them, I love them, I think they're very well researched, but you just have to acknowledge that she's not coming at this from a science background. So her evaluation of theories and their validity may not be the most scientific out there. So that is a con. It's not written by a scientist, but someone who has done a really good job researching the material. As I said, I love this, my son loves this, so that's not going to keep me from using the curriculum, but it's just something to be aware of. Okay, 7th question, final question, and it is very relevant for this channel, for my kids. Can you use this curriculum for a gifted kid? Yes, but as usual with any kid that's gifted, modifications. You will not want to try to stretch this curriculum out to an entire year. You would bore your kid. You might be able to get it for a full semester if you limit your kid. But if they're truly interested in this subject and act like any gifted kid would, myself included, they will devour the textbook at their own pace. They want to go deep, they want to go fast. So yes, they will probably eat this curriculum up quickly, which is fine. Let them do what they need. Give them all the extra resources from the website, especially because it is what those kids want. They want the meat. They want to be able to really gnaw on ideas and really get down deep into the nitty-gritty of everything. So they're going to love that. If you want more ideas, as I said, stick around to the channel. I will be sharing some of our astronomy resources that I started with my 3-year-old when I saw he was loving astronomy, and now my 4-year-old. So yeah, these are resources that would be a great supplements to this curriculum. So you can use it as a gifted kid, just be prepared to go faster, to go with a lot more supplemental stuff to beef it up. As usual, if you guys have any more questions, drop them down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts.